What's up, everybody? It's Ahmed with A. Roberson Photo, A. Roberson Media, and today I am going to do a quick speed-through walkthrough of how I create caricatures. Caricatures? Yeah, there we go. Caricatures in Photoshop. What's up, everybody? This is Ahmed with A. Roberson Photo, A. Roberson Media, and today I'm going to do a speed-through walkthrough of how I create caricatures. I have a portrait of my godson, and after we finished our photo session in my old photo studio back when I was in California, after we finished the family portraits, we went ahead and had some fun, and out of all these silly pictures that he took, this was one that I chose to use. So we're gonna create a caricature out of this. I mean, he did the silly pose on purpose for that purpose, and now we're gonna utilize it. So here we go. In Photoshop here, as you see, my old studio. Look at that floor. Oh, that was rough. That was rough. But I mean, if you're doing tight crop portraits, what does it matter, right? There it is, just like that. But anyway, with this particular photo, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to extract the head and we're going to extract the body. Now, I know Photoshop has some automatic caricature features where you can make the eyes bigger, change the jawline and shape of the face and all that stuff, but I'm going to show you why this method is what I prefer as opposed to using the built-in features. Matter of fact, before I even start doing my method, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to the liquify tool, and as you see here, face aware liquify, face number 1 is only the one face. If it was multiple faces, it would have a drop down. Well, it doesn't show there, but it would show multiple faces in the drop down menu. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on this photo real close. Let's go 100% and get close, right? So first thing we're going to do is look at the eyes. If you hit the link in the center here, well, if you leave it unchecked or unlinked, you can control each eye. Look at this eye right there. You can control each eye separately. But if you link them together, then they move together. See? There we go. And the same thing with the height of the eye. If you make it a little bit wider, the height of both eyes, the width of both eyes, and the eye tilt. Pretty trippy, right? Photoshop does a good job with that. I'm not mad at it, but we're going to reset that, and I'm going to show you why in a second. But let's go to the other feature really quick, the nose height. You can raise his nose a little bit. Tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. Remember Bewitched? Anyway, you can raise the nose height. You can expand the width. And same thing with the mouth. You can make it smile a little bigger. That's kind of creepy looking at it like that. Change the lip size, lower lip, upper, the mouth width, and the mouth height, right? We're going to reset all that really quick. And lastly, just want to show you the face shape, the forehead. You can make it move. Pretty smooth liquefying action. The chin up and down a little bit, right? Not bad. Jawline, big fat jawline like mine, hidden under this beard. And the face width, you make his face wider, right? But this is why, let me reset all that. This is why I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you why I prefer to do it with my method, which is extracting the ear separately, the eye separately, the nose separately, and the mouth. Because let's just go, for example, the eyes. Link them together. If I wanted to make the eyes bigger, let me link that. I can only go so big. But if I extract the eyes separately and make, my own layer of the eyes, or the eye height, same thing, it's only so much you can do. So although the features might look surreal or hyper realistic, if you will, you are limited with your control. Now, I'd imagine you can go ahead and do it, save it, or close that layer, create a new layer, go back in and just multiply it, and you can amplify the features bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's, not necessarily time consuming, but you're stacking a whole bunch of layers. I guess my way stacks layers too, but I don't know, the redundancy of going into the liquify tool, making something happen, going back and forth, just to amplify whatever part of the body or face that you want to change, it seems a little tedious, right? So this is what I'm going to do here. And first thing I'm going to do is I got my trusty pen tool. Zoom in really close because we want to make a good extraction here. Well, let's back that off just a little bit. And what we want to do is I'm going to go on the face, start with the forehead first, eyes, and I'm going to do this kind of rough, and I'm going to speed through this really fast so I don't take up too much. Oops, let me back that up. Take up too much of your time. But this is what we want to do, right? Go around the lip. Oh, I don't like that one. There we go. That's a little bit better. Around the chin a little bit. I don't like that. Go around the chin a little bit better. There we go. Like that. Like that. That. Let's go there. And up and around the collar. So I'm going to show you why I'm sure you already know why I'm doing this, but also, oops, I'm going to go around the hair fairly loosely, fairly quickly. I'm going to show you why really quick. Well, of course, because you see the loose flyaways, that's always a pain. But with that, okay, so I made the extraction around the head, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and right click and make selection. I'm not gonna feather this at all because I want the line to be good around his face, right? Okay, so we have that selection, but before I make a final selection, I'm gonna go select and mask, but I'm gonna hold shift first, and that gives me the, well, let's go, that's my refine edge dialog, right? So with the refine edge brush, I'm gonna go around the hair and let the refine edge brush do the work for me instead of trying to meticulously go over every strand of hair and get it right. What a mess. Now that looks pretty good. Let me try one more time. Looks good. Smart radius is up to maybe like that. Okay, that's decent. There we go. That's a little bit better. Get in there, all up in there, right? Much better. And let's try it on the overlay. I chose the blue overlay color. Looks good. There we go. Get in there. Do it a couple of times. Do it however many times you feel necessary to get the extraction that you want. And once you are satisfied with what you got, then you go ahead and hit OK, right? So now what we have is just the head, right? We just have the head and we still have the body back here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to not worry about the head for now. Still with our pen tool, we're going to go back and we're going to extract the body. This should be fairly quick too, right? So here we go. We're going to start here in the shirt collar. I'm going to do this kind of fast. If I was doing this for a client or some paid work, I'd go that much slower. But just going to do this really quick. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop talking really quick so I can fast forward this and you don't hear me sound like a chipmunk. And don't worry about me making this extraction without the shadows, because we're going to add our own shadowing later. So let me just finish speeding through this really quick, and we'll get back to it. Okay, we're going to make this selection now. Same way, right click, no feathering. And before we finish that though, two things. Number one, I know you can see that it's not perfect with my extraction, but I didn't want to be perfect. Certain parts of his clothing, I didn't like the way they bulged, so I went much further in on purpose. But also, you can go as fast as you want, slow as you want, as perfect as you want. I prefer the pen tool because it gives you full creative control, or exact points where you want the extraction to be, versus using the auto select tool, especially with his light shirt with the shadowing with the gray background. There's almost no way that the auto quick selection tool would have picked that up. So instead of frustrating myself and trying it with the quick selection tool first and then having to come back to the pen tool, just go back to the pen tool. Yeah, it can be a little time consuming, but that's okay, right? So anyway, hop back into Photoshop really quick, and I'm just gonna get into this part here because the quick selection wouldn't pick that up either. This time when we right click, we're going to subtract from the selection, right? Boom, there we go, subtract from the selection. Now we have that insert and the rest of his body. So now what we're gonna do is hit Control J and turn off the background layer. Now we got his body separate and his head separate. So now what we're going to do, turn the body off just for a hot second. What we're going to do now is go back to the head, and actually I like the way this is. I can go ahead and get rid of that. Let me just rename that really quick. Rename that body. And this background, we actually don't need it, but I'm just going to hold on to it for now just for comparison purposes. So now what we want to do is we want to go with the head, and before we start making well, we're going to start making changes to the head, but we're going to do it piece by piece, and I'll show you what I mean. First thing we're going to do with the pen tool again, zoom in close enough, and we're going to extract his ear. It can be a rough extraction. Quick, oops. There we go. Actually, you want this to be a good extraction. You want it to look realistic. It doesn't matter if you get a little bit of hair on there, and you'll see why later. But boom, right click, make your selection. There we go, right? Control J, and there is your ear. Now we want to go back to the head. We're going to keep making extractions from the head. So I extracted the ear. Now we go back to the head, and this time from the head we're going to extract his nose. You want to make a good extraction there on the nose and the little shadows too. Boom, right click, make a selection, zero feather, Control J. Now we have the nose. Again, we're going to go back to the head, and now this time what we want to do is let's extract the mouth, and we're going to do a wide, fairly rough, well, let me make that right. Oops, there we go. Loose extraction of the mouth. Right click, there we go, and Control J. And we're going to go back to the head again. Everything comes back to the head, and we're going to do the eyes. Just do a wide rough. Right, make that. Boom. And this time we are going to do, that is his left eye. Go back to the head one more time. The right eye. Make selection. Boom. Control J. Right eye. Oh, Alexa, cancel. Did y'all hear me talk to Alexa? I don't think I said anything, but she picked up on something. I always feel like somebody's watching. Okay, let me get back to work. Let me focus. Okay, so now I have everything extracted. So let's say if I turn the head off, I've got the ear, turn that off. Well, let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit closer. The ear I can turn off, the nose, turn off, the mouth, left eye, and the right eye, right? And I'm sure you already know why I'm doing it that way, but let's go back to the body really quick. Let's turn all this stuff off just for a hot second. Let's go back to the body. So what we're going to do with the body is we're going to, you can just hit the control key and select the body layer, and it'll select what you have, right? It'll select the body, it'll select what's in that layer. Hit Control T, and this time what we're going to do, we're going to shrink the body down just a little bit. But I'm also going to shrink the body down. Why? Because I'm going to make the head bigger. But before we even go that far, let's hit Control D to deselect. We're going to turn that into a smart object so we can do add different filters into the body without destructively permanently affecting it, right? So now we're going to go into the liquefy tool, and inside the liquefy tool, let's go a little bit bigger here. And what we're going to do, I could have extracted different parts of the body too if I wanted to, like the shoes, the feet, for example. I could have extracted those. That way it give me more control on how I want to change his body. But for this particular caricature, I didn't necessarily care for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the shoes, right? The bloat tool. I want his shoes to look a little bit exaggerated, cartoon-like. So I use the bloat tool and just tap a little bit here and there just to blow his feet up some, right? Oops, let me back that up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna make his feet look a little cartoonish. Tap a little bit, right? Okay. And now with the pucker tool, I'm gonna make his hands a little bit smaller. Smaller, tighter. Smaller, tighter. Little bitty hands, right? Okay. And now with the move tool, or the hand warp tool or move warp tool, make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to give him some noodle arms, make his arms a little scrawny and small. There we go. And I'm just freestyling this. I mean, you know, your vision, look like a little chicken. But whatever your vision is, you can make it how you see fit. You know, I'm just doing this how I see fit. We could have added a little background back there if you wanted to see a different color of what it's going to look like, but I already have a vision of what it's going to look like. I've been doing this for a while, so I already know what the plan is. I want to use a blue gradient background, so I already see it in my head. If you make when you're using the hand warp tool, when you make it small, of course you get to move small parts around the body. You make it big, it not only gets like wherever you're targeting, but it moves a lot of that with it. I want to move a lot of his body with the hand, so it all goes in together. Same thing with this side. I want to move all this in a little bit, give him that more of that chicken arm effect. There we go. Let's bring that in a little tighter. There we go. Something like that. Move that chest out just a little bit. There. And let's go down to the legs. I'm gonna keep the legs kind of big, kind of, just bring them in just a little bit. Waistline too, bring that in just a little bit. Move that around just a little, not too much, right? So let's back it up a little bit. Let's go to fit the view, and let's do a before and after. There we go. All right, so we hit OK. And now we have the body, and because it's in a smart object, if we didn't want it, we can get rid of that and start all the way over, but the body's not completely destroyed. So now we go to the head. Now here's the tricky part with the head, because we extracted everything from the head separately. We want to make sure we turn everything back on with the head, but this time we could put it in a group. So go to the ear, hold shift, touch the head, hit Control G, and that makes a group, and we're going to call that big head, right? So let's see, in the big head, so now now in the big head we hit Control T. That selects everything in that group. Everything in that group is selected. Control T, and we want to make the head bigger, right? And we want to fit it back where it's supposed to be within that collar, and we'll warp it a little bit too, just to make sure everything fits like we need it to. Let's go full size. There we go. We don't want to get too crazy, but well, if you want to, go ahead, feel free. This is your caricature. I'm just trying to help walk you through it. But anyway, let's go ahead and make the head a little bit bigger, and we'll fit that in the collar. We'll get to that in just a second. So let's see here. Okay. There we go. Right there. Okay. So now in the whole head there, this part, I want to turn the head into a smart object, and we're going to go into the liquify tool just the same, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to work on his neck. Because I don't have the body in there, it makes it a little difficult, but again, I know where I'm supposed to move certain body parts, so I'm going to try to guess it and see if I get that neck and head where I want it to be. Let's see. There we go. We're getting close, right? So now what I could do is just hit the head by itself, go to the warp tool, and there we go. Let's see if I can get in there the way I want it to. Matter of fact, no, let me cancel that. I have a better idea. What I'm going to do is, let's not make that a smart object. Let's change that. We are going to make a mask on that, and on that mask, we are going to mask off the area that we don't want, right? Or first we're going to move the whole head. So boom, move the head down until it fits in the collar. There we go. So now we take the head and zoom in where we want to be. Oops. And we are going to make adjustments as we see fit. There we go. There we go. That's fitting a lot better. Uh-oh, went too far. There we go. Oops. There we go, right there. Get back to that. Hold on. There we go. Not scattering, not shape dynamics. We don't want any spacing. We want that smooth. There we go. Much better. Okay, so now that we have the head lined up the way we want it to, we are now going to go to the eye. And the right eye, Control T, and we can make the right eye a little bit bigger. Yes. And the left eye, make that a little bit bigger, just the same. And don't worry about looking at that part here. We're going to mask that off, right? And we mask that off, and we're going to turn our opacity down low, make the hardness really soft, and we are going to just paint back in that little by little, right? So it blends in perfectly. Turn that up just a little bit more. There we go, right? That's fitting. Little at a time. That way you don't see the line, right? And then same thing with the right eye. Put a little mask on that, and same thing. You want to blend it, make that a little bit harder. But you want to blend it to where it doesn't go too far past his face, because it'll start to look funny. Matter of fact, to make this easier, let's go ahead and just put a solid color behind him. Let's go there. That way you can see what's going on for the meantime. It's just temporary, but it's just to show you what we're working with. So that there, and is here. Alright, okay. And hardness and size. Right. There we go. Okay, so now we want to go to the nose. Same thing with the nose. Control T. You want to make that nose a little bit bigger. And if we want it, we can hit the warp tool, and we can shape the nose, make his nose stick up a little bit. There we go. All right, and we want to mask the nose off, and oops, turn that down just a bit, and we want to make that really soft. There we go. And you see how it blends back into the face like it should. Normally you don't see any harsh lines from the extraction we made. And same thing with the mouth. We'll go ahead and put the mask there right now because we know we're going to need it. Control T, make his mouth a little bit bigger. Well, hold on, let me do that again. Let's go. Make his mouth a little bit bigger. Nothing too crazy, right? There we go. And with the mask, same thing. We just want to mask off the obvious lines that were created when we did this. Make it a little bit harder because we're on the outer edge. There we go. And then softer back for the inside again really quick. Bam. Right. And lastly, we're going to put a mask on that, and we're going to do the ear. We're going to make his ear bigger too. There we go. And same thing with the ear. Oops. Oh, that's not on the mask there. Oops. There we go. We're back on the mask there. Here we go. Paint away the ear. And this is the part I was talking about on the ear. You don't have to be perfect because it's blending into the hair anyway, right? So you don't have to be picture perfect there. But other than that, let me just back out just a little bit. And let's close that group down just so you can see. Well, not like that, but let's get rid of this background. Hold on. Oh, there we go. That was the before size head, and that's the bigger. Well, it looks weird now, but you'll get the picture. Look at that little body. Huh. Matter of fact, let's do it like this. You see the caricature coming, right? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we got the body extracted. Got that, right? So we're gonna add a layer under shadow 1. Oops. 1. And let's do one more shadow. Oh, can't spell. 2. Now we're gonna make some shadows under him really quickly, just to actually put him on the ground. So shadow 1 will be under his left foot, and all you have to really do is you want to make a big round soft shadow under his shoe. We go like right there. Oops. Let's do that full opacity. One shadow under there, and under his other foot we want to put a shadow there. Right now under the first shadow, Control T, and what we're going to do is we're just going to make it wide and adjust it so you can see fit. Oops. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and put that solid color back under there again, just so you can see. Let's go with a soft blue, right? But you can see the shadow now, right? You see how it sits under there? Same thing with shadow number 2. Hit Control T, and I hold Shift and Alt. I know Photoshop has changed the way the not rectangular tool, or the selection, the free selection works. So depending on how yours is set up, but mine is still set up to where if I hit hold Alt and Shift, everything will move together. But we want to do it like that. Hold Shift, and that's that, right? So shadow number 1, go back to that. Let's get that in the proper position. There we go. There we go. Right, and right. There we go. And you can change the opacity to how it suits you best. I'm dropping this opacity down to about 70%. Shadow 2, maybe 80%, because he's a little darker back there, right? Or it's a little darker back there. All right, so here we go. We pretty much have our caricature made for the most part. Matter of fact, let's get rid of this color fill, solid color, and we're gonna go with gradient. And we're gonna do a radial gradient, and we're gonna pick a blue gradient. There we go. And if you change the scale, you change how much of the center gradient shows versus how little. But we're gonna go here, that gradient. Yes, I like that. Yep, okay. And you can actually move it around to where that gradient spotlight or highlight is, right? So I'm gonna put it there. There we go. Move that scale up to maybe about 220-ish. I think that looks good, right? So that's pretty much it. But what I want to do is I'm gonna select from the big head all the way down to the shadows, hit Control T. That's just a dialog warning letting you know that you got smart objects in there. And we're gonna increase the size of our caricature just to make him fit the frame here. and boom, there he is. There's our caricature. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer than I expected, but let's see if we can get a before and after in there. That's the before, that's the after. That's the before, that's the after. I like the after. I think it looks fun. I think it looks funny. Hopefully you agree, and if so, give me a thumbs up and give me a comment. Let me know if my method helped you as opposed to using the automatic tools built into Photoshop, and please consider subscribing. I do appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video.